My name is Kath, if you haven't come across me before. I'm a software trainer for NMR and wanted to show you the very new and exciting extra benchmarking on InterHerdPlus, which has all been collated in conjunction with Pan Livestock Services, and we've got some of those people listening in today as well. So if you have any specific development type questions, then do bring those in. They are listening in. So just wanted to put a bit of a title screen on here. I am recording the session as well, so it will be available to view again. And without further ado, let me show you what this is all about. So InterHerdPlus, many of you have had it for a number of years now, has just been able to go on to the cloud. So what does that mean? The data itself, all those databases that you hold, can be moved to a cloud server, which then takes the pressure off a little bit of your local computers as far as storing data goes. And with that cloud access comes a whole raft of new information. So I just want to walk you through it really, and please do field questions as we go through. There is a Q&A option in the Teams, and I will come to those at the end. So you may be familiar with the KPIs existing. So this opening graph that we've seen for a number of years now is based on the 500 herd study. So we're looking at data from 500 NMR recorded herds. Every year we refresh it and work out what is the top 25%? So what are 1 in 4 dairy farmers achieving? And then you have the ability as an advisor, consultant vet, to then compare a particular herd. So I've got some demo data here, herd number 7. That's the rolling black square over the last 12 months. Sorry, not rolling square, it's a rolling 12-month value based on that black square for all of these different parameters. So the power of the data is right there. So this isn't new. We've had this for a while now. We're taking it that little step further, but just to give you a sort of a background of where we've come from. And actually that 500 herd study has been going, well, about 12 years now. So we've got some really interesting stats, and I'm sure James Hanks and his team would be very happy to share those with you as well at maybe a later webinar presentation on, you know, what the 10-year trends look like from a national picture. In fact, we could maybe do a joint thing, I'm thinking. So under the reports menu, we have a new option, KPIs compared to national. These are split into 2 distinct areas. So we have Johne's, and we have everything else basically. So let me show you the Johne's one firstly. And there's been a lot of work with the Johne's over the years as well for things like the progress tracker. So aside from the 500 herd study, we've been able to collate data now for just over 250 herds. So that is what this graph represents. All of these sort of grey areas made up of 250 odd lines. And it gives you an idea then of what the top 25% are achieving. So the green line here against the bottom 25%, the red, and then a median value, which is the orange. So in terms of where the herds lie from a national picture. Over the top of that, you'll see this blue line. And this represents my particular herd that I'm looking at right now. So herd number 7. On the KPI choices, so average test value is what we're looking at right now. There are a few other options. So again, some of these will be familiar to you when you're looking at the Johne section in itself. You can see, you know, how many parity 1 animals are coming in as J4s, what sort of level of infection have we got here, and more recently, percentage priority culls. So you can choose any parameter you like. You can go back in time. So latest obviously makes sense, but you could look, you know, for a few years ago if something significant happened. And then we've got a progress status as well. So in terms of identifying this herd, I can just do that. Just to clarify, I won't show you one herd. No, okay, that's fine. We know who the herd is anyway. We're in the herd. That's fine. That will come later. So in terms of raw data, I can just go to this particular grid here and see, okay, the average test value for this year is 3.8. So that's where this herd is sitting. It's green because it's a good value in relation to the national picture. How well herd progressed, so compared to self. So this is a really nice feature, and this will build as we go through. So don't switch off yet if you're thinking, oh, that's really marvellous, Kath. But no, there's more to follow. It gets very, very good. So we've got a graph here showing trend over time. So for my particular herd that I'm looking at now, this is a picture where we are at this point in time. 3 years ago, we were up here somewhere. So we have improved greatly on that particular parameter. What we can then do opens up a whole new ballgame. So I just need to move my keyboard close. I can press some buttons. So I go into my particular herd here to select another herd, as you would do with any standard InterHerdPlus mechanism. So they're all held within the same database. And you can see here's all my different herds. So it might be I want to compare herd 7, and I hold the control key down for this to pick individual herds like so. So I'm just picking these totally at random, but I've got a selection here. Actually, let's go for 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll go for 5 herds. Equally, I could do the whole lot. So a true picture of your consultancy farms or your vet practice, all of your clients essentially. Or you can do a block. It might be the ones in the middle. So if I wanted, 4 to 8 for whatever reason, I can also do that with the shift key. So shift does a block from there to there. The control key, press down, does individuals. So it's a very similar process to other things that we've been doing for years and years. So I will pick my 5 herds here, and I will save all of those together. Now that functionality right there has always been available. So something on InterHerdPlus, you have always been able to multi-select herds and then view, maybe not the KPIs so much, but you can certainly view from an enterprise, from a client perspective, all of those herds as one. So that true multi-herd functionality is there right now if you were to look at your data today. So what we can do with this now, if I go back to my KPIs, looking at the Johnes again, it might take a little minute because it's just got to create some graphs for 5 herds instead of 1. I could talk about the weather at this point. I've had lovely sunshine today. It's been very nice indeed, but chilly. There we are. Right, so now we've got something rather interesting. So it's the same range, the same grey background, but we have 5 blue lines on our graph. Now we know, because herd 7 came up first, which one he was, but in terms of identity purposes, I can drag the mouse over. Now this will work. There we go. That's herd number 1. And so on. I can identify each individual herd. Of course, in your database, they will be real live people. You can actually identify the name of the farm. So this is very interesting. We can see from a practice perspective, or a bunch of herds that have got something in common, how well they're all faring against the national picture. Then we can just check the raw data. If you need a grid of values, you can see here, and you can also sort. Actually, that is already sorted in numerical order, isn't it? But if you wanted to, change the sort order, you can do so there. Progress graph then gets really interesting again. So now we can see for those particular herds, how have they progressed compared to themselves, as well as compared to each other, and compared to nationally. So there's a lot of benchmarking going on here. So on the whole, from a picture of this particular practice, we have made great improvements. So 2020 is the dark blue through to 2023. Apart from this herd here, has gone in the opposite direction. So it's maybe a starting point to have a conversation on that one. Progress data as well, you can just check out those figures there. So where have we come from to where we are now? And then we have this one here on the end, which does something else again. So putting all of that data together in a sense, so we know where we are now in blue in relation to the national picture and each other. And these sorts of graphs are very handy if you're looking to do, a client meeting maybe, and you want to show some pictures of how we are all working together for the common good, everybody making improvements. This sort of thing you can show up on a PowerPoint, or some sort of display without any risk of anyone saying, don't show my data. Within your practice, you've got the data there anyway, but it's all anonymized at this particular stage, unless you want it to be, a bit more open. So there we've got blue is now. There's a little key over here as well, just to help you. 2020 is pink. So we've come from pink, and on the whole, all the pinks at this end, apart from this one, we've moved forward, we've progressed on our average test value amount. And I can break it down a bit. So if we wanted just the before picture, that's where we were 3 years ago. Now we've generally moved over there. Transition tells you where we've come from. So if we've come from red, we've stayed about the same on that particular one. This one's come from green, but the ones that have improved, you can see how much they've improved by, in a sense. So red being bottom 25%, so this sort of ballpark here, we're now situated at this side of the graph. So again, it's another way of seeing how much you've improved against that national picture, which for 260 odd herds is a really good indicator of what's happening out there as well. So there's lots of options here. That's just one example of the Johne side. Now if we have a look at the other one, and I'll keep my 5 herd selection, let's have a look at production and fertility and health and all the bits that go with it. So the first one that always pops up is culling rate. I'm going to have a look at, and you'll recognise all of these again. So these are all the same as the KPIs that we've always had. We have the ability to use, those comparisons for any of the parameters that you choose, really. So this one here I was looking at earlier, number of cells or proportion of cells that are over 500. So again, those are my particular herds in relation to, now we're back on the 500 herd study here. So there's our 500 herd range. Top 25% is situated here. On the whole, we're down the green end of the table again. Pretty good. We can identify the individual herds as well. How have we progressed over the last 3 years? So again, dark blue to light blue, dramatic improvement in some cases. Again, a little bit, well, that one, stayed the same, which is often, no bad thing. We've got some interesting discussion points to have with those, haven't we? And then a progress graph on this one. Looks slightly different to the Johne's, and in fact, the better that you are, sometimes you go off the scale because we're on a collective we're quite good. So each one of these elements, you don't need to look at the raw data unless you want to, but you've got the data and the graph associated with it for all of those different ones. Then I can just swap to something else completely different, maybe age at first calving. There we go, and then you can see as a collective, that's where we sit in blue, again, compared to the national picture, but also in terms of years, so how the general trend has gone, interestingly, down for most. You can see if it holds a similar picture for your practice. I say practice, but of course, consultants, I know you're listening in as well, nutritionists, this is applicable to any of you with a client base, basically. Further to that, particularly where you're talking about lots of staff, so maybe lots of vets within the practice, or many consultants working to a common goal, you might have a lot of herds all between you. And what we're able to do with the cloud storage of data is put it all into one database, just for simple storage terms, but we can then break that down per user. So if I go to one herd again, so again, just to change your herd range, you might want to look at the whole lot. Now if I just do, just so you know how to do that, I'm not going to run this now because we may be waiting a little minute, but I can grab the whole lot from start to finish that way. So I'm just going to pick out number 1 again. When you decide, this is the way to go, absolutely, you can give us a call, and I'm gonna leave our details, myself and James Hanks's details, on the screen at the end, just so you can contact us. In the herd details here, but just wanted to show you this step in particular. If we've got all of the herds together, which generally they are, there is a new thing called premises types. And what we're able to do, these are just some examples here, for each individual herd, they can belong to a particular premises type or a particular group. And that group can be set by a person. So it might be Kath Smith, let's say she's a vet within, Vet Practice PLC, and she runs the north of the practice. So she has all of her herds into the north, and then there's also another section for Vet 1 and Vet 3. It might be you want all your organic herds into one particular group, so you can just select them per user there, but it allows you as a company to have each user only accessing herds that are relevant to them. And that way, you can control it that much better. So every user has their own login. They connect to this whole portal. Now it's done through your existing InterHerdPlus. So there's nothing to install. There's nothing to add or configure that way. It's all done on the cloud, our end, if you like. And then you can tell us, which herds you want to go to which person. And then we can actually set that all up so, they've got their particular permissions here. If I just illustrate that another way, I look over here, premises types, there you go. So for example, you might have a range by geography, or it might be per person, or it might be, like I say, organic herds, certain types of system, robot farms versus parlor, the possibilities are endless here. So you can really be precise on comparing like with like. So there's lots and lots of avenues there. Okay, so that was it pretty much in a nutshell, but I'm hoping there are loads of questions. I'm happy to share those with you. I'm just going to put it back on the screen in case we need to dive back in. So let me go back to the Johne's one. And you see you can just swap about as much as you like. So start off with whichever herd you were on at the beginning when you log in. And then, as I illustrated before, you can just grab another herd and then view those KPIs to your heart's content. So into there. There we go. Okay, so just coming back to my Q&A. Right, so any questions then? Please do fire away, or if you want to raise your hand, I can always open up the audio so you can ask a question if you like. In terms of accessibility, as I say, there's nothing new to install. If you've already got InterHerdPlus, what we just need to do, the process is grab your downloaded herds database, so all the herds that you currently have. Pan will then pop those onto the cloud, and it's just then a quick configuration that we can run to point your InterHerdPlus to the cloud rather than your local copy. The data then is downloaded that much quicker because it's on the cloud. It's checking for data all the time behind the scenes. So you don't have to sit there and wait for it to trickle in as you open up your program. It will be there already. So that's speeded up considerably. Then you view your InterHerdPlus exactly the same way that you're used to doing. You just access it in a slightly different format, putting in a password. So it's all really nice and secure. You've got a different user account per person, so per user, per vet, per consultant, whatever. And then, as I say, you can configure certain herds to certain people, or if everybody needs access to every herd, that's absolutely fine. And then you've got lots and lots of information to view that way. Oh, sorry, let me pop that up there. I'm just checking I've got no other bits on there. No. Okay, so if there are no questions, that's fine. It might be something to digest and perhaps come back to us later. In which case, let me just leave you with this screen. If you're frantically typing, I will give you a couple of minutes just to finish off. But yes, if this is of interest or you want to explore further or have a bit more detailed demo, explanation how it all works, please do drop me an email or James as well. I've put his details on here, so we're both available to go through this with you. I know there are there's a number of practices that this has been set up for already, so you might even be on the cloud and not perhaps aware, so we can certainly confirm that for you, let you know what the details are to log in and make sure it's pointing in the right place. And then you're away and the data is already there. So that's the beauty of it. It's really easy to set up anyway. And and there's no updates particularly. That all happens behind the scenes as well. So really quite straightforward. I hope you found that useful. And yeah, actually, I'll leave that on the screen. There we go. Look forward to hearing from you if you want to know more about it. Thank you all very much for listening in. Have a good day. Bye for now.